I worked with a colleague at IBM who was young, who was tall, who was brash, who was like the guys I've been describing here, very good at this stuff. I saw him once, or many times indeed, work a room. One of the things in sales that we had to do, and I'm sure those of you in sales can relate to this, was we had to do lots of schmoozing. There were lots of cocktail parties, there was lots of lunches. And he always had the right thing to say to the person and people that were there. And he could always link what he'd been doing to something that the other person might be interested in. So, for instance, he was working on the tax office account, which was my account. He was a junior sales employee. I was the the client exec. But he was much better at this than I ever was, and I learned from him. He would go to a networking event, and he'd been working on the tax office, and there'd be the CEO of the secretary of the defence department there, and he would go up to him and he'd shake his hand and he'd go, I hear you've been working on this outsourcing arrangement for the development of the blah blah system. I've been doing some great work at the tax office, and I reckon if you talk to Michael Carmody, who was the commissioner of the tax office, you would find out that we are doing a really great job and you should be talking to me about what I can do for you. He'd say that, and it was that blatant. And I would scratch my head, I'd watch in awe, I'd watch in wonder, and I'd go, that is so good. How do you do that? And then he showed me this card file he had. And in his card file, with all these cards, were all these little things that he'd write at the end of a day or every couple of days about the latest thing he'd been working on. And he'd flick it. He'd flick through it every time he'd go to a function so he could have whatever he was doing top of mind, so that he could then just regurgitate whatever was going to be useful to whoever was going to be there. He did it really well. He was very practiced at it. We could practice this stuff ourselves to our advantage. In addition, and we've heard lots about this, so I won't spend much time on it, is we also need to get better at sharing the work that we do, at enlisting others. We are really good at doing lots of stuff. I've heard over and over and over in the last 2 days how good we are. My clients are really, really good at doing lots of stuff too. But you know what? The thing is, if our accomplishments are only built on our own shoulders, we can only build towers of a certain height before they either fall over or they crush us. And I've worked with many women who've been in both of those situations. We need to get better at enlisting others, at leadership, and help inspiring people, at generating shared commitment to ideas that make a difference. We can then build cathedrals of achievement built on the shared resources of a number of people. I've heard a couple of women over the last 2 days who talk about that really well. It's a key success factor. And again, because we're running out of time, some of the ways that we could improve our ability to be seen, to be noticed, are listed on this slide. I'm not sure whether you have these handouts, actually. Did I have those handouts? No? Okay. So write quickly. So some of the things that help, we need to get better at building and nurturing our networks. We need to find people to share our accomplishments with. We need to get better connected. We're really good at building relationships. We're not so good at building networks. Relationships require much more energy. Relationships are much more mutual, and we spend time in inquiring about each other, which is great for our friendship group. Not so great for business. It's very time consuming. We can get really creative about building networks. In fact, I was doing some work with Deloitte in Australia, and I was doing some women's workshops, and I said to them, I want you to come up with some strategies about how you get what you could do to really make sure that you're in the loop and you're getting the information you need and you're getting opportunities to be heard. And they came up with this great idea. They took it in turns to make sure that they went to all of the networking events. So one person would go to the Friday night drinks, one person would go and play golf, one person would go and do breakfast with whoever it was, one person would go to the CEO's briefing. They couldn't all do it because they all had families, so they took it in turns, and then they'd meet for coffee and share what was going on. And that person who was at the network also had the responsibility to tell whoever was there about what was going on for the women who couldn't be there as well. It worked really well. Those of you who have career aspirations, and I hope you all do, share them with your boss. Share them with your boss's boss. Let people know what your aspirations are and ask them for their support. Ask them to introduce you to people who might help you move through your career. Finding a mentor or champion, and we heard about advocates earlier, really important. There was an article written not so long ago about how women tend to get mentored. We get taught new things. It's not nearly as helpful as having someone champion us, having an advocate who will support us in our careers. We need to help others see us in a leadership role, which means we actually need to find opportunities to take on leadership. We need to speak like a leader. We need to sound authoritative. We need to practice speaking in a way that's likely to get heard. We need to say less, not more. I hear lots of women say too much and it dilutes the impact of their message. We need to get regular feedback so we know what we're doing well as the things that we need to get better at. We need to be much more strategic in our approach to our careers and our lives. We need to stop working so hard. We need to start telling people about how good we are. We need to encourage and support each other so that we can all be better positioned for success. I'm going to encourage all of you, and if we had more time, I'd be asking you for specific things that you could do for yourselves, what you could take away from here and how you would use it. I encourage you all to do that. I encourage you all to talk about your achievements. Don't stay small. Help each other grow and help each other notice who you are. Thank you.